Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Ben Mayfield podcast. I'm so glad you're watching. We're on YouTube. If you want to subscribe today, we really appreciate that. Our subscribers helps us get more and more traction as we grow this podcast. We're also on Apple and Spotify, so make sure if you want to listen to audio, you can do that there. We appreciate everything that you do. If you have anybody that you want on the podcast, any guests, anybody that might be really like, oh, this person would be great, DM us on Instagram. We're on the Ben Mayfield podcast on Instagram. DM us. Let us know. We want them to be on there. We want to interview people to get great stories and great content. And we just appreciate y'all listening, subscribing, and being loyal. So I hope you enjoy this episode where I talk a lot about England and my adventures across the pond. And it's a great episode. And answer a couple of fun questions at the end. So I appreciate you, and thank you for listening. Welcome to the Ben Mayfield podcast. I'm your host, Ben Mayfield. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm so excited for today's podcast. It's one that I think needs to be had, one that's been just tremendously on my heart just to do. But before I do, I want to say I appreciate all the love, man. We've been doing some podcasts. I just did one with Jake and Jesse, and that was great. Jake and his dad. Heartfelt testimony. I did a solo episode revealing some truth about my life and some things that I've learned, and my incredible son Davis, who I love dearly. I just spent all day with Davis, so that was like awesome. So I'm a little like energized. I love him a lot. And so producer Jackson, shout out to him, JP,
Hello.
Professor Payne. He was like, man, we got to get back in the studio, man. We're consistent. We're making podcasts. We're making episodes. And so I was like, man, well, what do I want to talk about? And I got to brag on my dad a little bit here. I don't know if anyone listening, I don't know if it's your dad, it's your mom, or a grandparent, or whoever. The person in your life who's inspired you, who's loved on you, who has challenged you over the years, but the person who's like your hero. My dad is my hero. I love him a lot. He's incredibly awesome. Unique, very unique. A little different than most dads. At least I like to say that he is. And he's awesome. And he's done a lot with his life. And one day, mark my word, I will have the great Bobby Lee Mayfield on the podcast. We will interview him. We will hear some war stories. Because this guy, 2-time Teacher of the Year, twice, back-to-back years. And then he went to Iraq, was a war hero, 2005. So it was like prime, like Iraqi war zone. Like it was a hot button topic politically. I mean, it was crazy. And not only was he there during that height of the Iraqi, war, Operation Iraqi Freedom, he got not one, but 2 Bronze Stars. There's 2 Bronze Stars, and I'm proud of him. He also got the Anne Frank Humanitarian Award. He got just a lot of different just accolades. Now he's county commissioner. He's been a principal. He's done all these different things, and he's got his doctorate in education. He and I went and did that together. So I say all that because not just the accolades of like achievements that he's done. There's probably more that I'm missing that he's done. But it's the achievement of just being like a really great dad, being there for my brother and I, supporting us, loving us, being consistent. I remember when my dad was in the military, he would go during the summer for like some training. It'd be like 2 or 3 weeks training with the Army. And I remember my birthday being in June, and knowing the day that he would come home, I would go stand next to the window and like be watching like, Papa gonna be coming down the driveway. I was a little kid. And I also remember one year going to a hotel, like it was my birthday, it was a June birthday, so we would go down to Fort Stewart, and we were at a hotel, and he had like a little day pass, and he came and celebrated my birthday. And I thought it was the coolest birthday because we had a pool, because we were at a hotel, so I was like, got a pool, it's gonna be pretty sick. That's a pretty good birthday, right?
Yeah, pool, birthday, that's a pretty good combo.
Yeah, it's a pretty good combo, especially for a little kid. And so, I say all that, he's just a good dad. He's a loving dad. And so as he gets closer to retirement, my dad and I have been talking about for a while about traveling. And this is something I want to challenge everybody who listens to the podcast. A lot of times in our lives, we say things that we want to do, and they're just like dreams. They're just like, yeah, maybe I'll do that. Like, oh, I want to open, I want to paint more and sell paintings. Like, okay, do you really want to do that? Or is that just something we talk about? Or, oh, I want to open up this, or I want to sell this, or I want to, do this more, this hobby or this thing. And we talk about it a lot. But do we take the intentionality and actually do those things? And that's one of the reasons why my dad and I had talked about traveling for a while. And we're going to invite our brother Will, my brother Will, but he couldn't make it. He's got a young daughter. He's got 2 daughters, but one's like 4 months old. So he couldn't go with us. But we were talking about wanting to travel. And we were like, Dad, like, we got to stop talking about it and let's do it. Like, we talked about going to this place or that place. And then it would just like kind of, it would fizzle out. It was kind of just like, wishing, hoping we do it. And so then one day we finally did it. I was like, Dad, we have to book it or it'll never happen. And my dad and I booked a trip across the pond, as they say, to the United Kingdom. The United Kingdom! And in the United Kingdom, something that I learned, Jackson, and everybody listening, is there's a difference between Great Britain and the United Kingdom. And if you already know this, great. If you don't, try to yell at your iPod right now or your phone, wherever you're listening to this on, and try to guess this. Great Britain is the geographical of the area of England, Wales, and Scotland. Those 3 create Great Britain. The United Kingdom is a political system which includes those 3, Northern Ireland, and any other territories throughout the world. So that's the United Kingdom versus Great Britain. And so we went and we landed in London at Heathrow Airport. And what's crazy about that is like literally like a week before we went, Heathrow Airport was on fire. There was this giant fire in Heathrow Airport. And I was like, is our trip going to get canceled? Is England like burning down? But they were able to tame the fire. They repaired it. So we were able to still go because that was kind of freaky. The airport we went to literally was like on fire. And I'm thinking to myself, like, if I see like go to landing and I see like scorch marks or like smoke, I'm like, let's not land there. But it turned out to be fine. And we get there, we're in Heathrow, and then my dad and I decided like we're gonna try to Uber places. They don't have Uber, they have like some other ride share thing. But then on the actual tour company, we booked this tour where they have like a charter bus and they would drive us places and do things for like 8 days. So we didn't have to drive, but we had to get to the airport to the hotel to start the tour. And so we get this Uber guy, and that was just crazy getting off the airport. But we get into it, and this guy, he says, oh, like, where y'all from? We're like, oh, we're from the States. Well, we said we're from America, and they said, oh, you're from the States. They call the United States the States. They don't call it America, USA, whatever. And he's like, oh, okay. And like we're like driving. It's like a 30-minute drive. And then he finally like goes like, so, you have a lot of guns there? And I was like, and my dad's like partially deaf now with all this military stuff. So he's like not super engaged in the conversation because he can't hear. So it's like, what? That's what I said, what? He's like, yeah, like, does everyone just have like guns? Like, does everybody have guns there? And I was like, I mean, like, there are a lot of guns, but not like everybody just carries them around. He's like, no, like, does everybody have like 2 or 3 guns? And I was like, well, in the South, maybe, but the rest of the U.S., maybe not. Like, and it turned out, I think this guy had watched like Western movies and just assumed that all of America was like a Western where we all have like a gun on our hip and it's like cowboys. I was like, no, that's not the way it works.
I think it's just a big old stereotype that Americans just have a lot of guns.
Yeah, it's definitely a stereotype. And this guy was not afraid to ask about those stereotypes. He has a couple other things that were just like kind of random off the wall. He was like, what did he talk about? Once he asked something about ice cream or something. It was like, what are you talking about, dude? And then he also wanted to get political. And I was like, oh, okay. It's kind of like nonchalant about it. And so we end up getting there. We're in England. Y'all, it's a little bit different in England. The food is different. I don't know. You've all probably heard of English breakfast, and hearing about it is great. I love it. I'm not. You're about to hear about it now, but experiencing it was like, whoa, this is way different. And I go in there, and the next morning we have breakfast. There's baked beans, but they're not like sweet baked beans. They're just like beans with like baked bean sauce, but like no honey baked beans. It was just like regular baked beans. And then they had like this weird looking sausage. It's like there's blood sausage, but then there was like this other sausage, and then they had like black sausage. That's like these little black little hockey puck looking sausage things that like you could eat. And they had powdered eggs, which was gross, but I guess they had like egg shortage, so that's what they do there. And then they had like 5 different toast jams that you could do. And it was just weird. And like everybody was just like scarfing this stuff down. I'm like, this stuff does not look appealing at all. And then we get on this tour bus. I'm probably the only, there's like maybe if there's 50 of us, only about 3 or 4 of us were under the age of 50. Everybody else was like retirees. So I'm like, let's go. This is awesome. We had people from Canada, Australia, all across the world, Asia. Only people from the South. What's up? Go Dogs. Had to represent the U.S. We had a couple Singapore. No New Zealand, though. All in Australia. It was pretty cool. Nobody from England on the tour, though, surprisingly. And so we go there. We go visit Elizabeth Tower, which is like Big Ben. For everybody who doesn't know, Big Ben was like, that's the one thing I had to go see. Like, legalistically, I had to go see it because it's named after me. And Elizabeth Tower is the official name for it, but the bell within Elizabeth Tower is called Big Ben because the guy who installed it, his name was Ben. Little fact for you. Went to Buckingham Palace, Westminster Abbey. I'm kind of getting this out of chronological order, but just geographically all in that area. Dude, the buildings were gorgeous. Right across from Westminster Abbey, though, that like if you're looking at it, it kind of looks like the Notre Dame. It's like this beautiful like church thing. But if you turn around, there's another ginormous, gorgeous church that's like beautiful, just as beautiful, and it's the Methodist Church. It's like one of the oldest Methodist churches of all time, and it's right there, next to Buckingham Palace and Westminster and Big Ben and all these Parliament. I was like, this is awesome. So we went there. My dad and I happened to be Sunday morning. We just walked in and went to church. I literally went to church at the oldest Methodist church, like, ever. Like, isn't that awesome? I mean, I guess it maybe ever. I don't know. I don't know if there's one that's older, but this one's pretty dang old, which is pretty awesome. You can fact check me later.
I'll probably fact check in editing.
Yeah, in editing, see like little thing, not the oldest.
Yeah.
But definitely like maybe one of the oldest.
Maybe like the second or third oldest. That's still an accomplishment.
Yeah, still an accomplishment, especially if you have to go to England to find it. And so Buckingham Palace, we also caught changing the guard. Dude, this process. So in Buckingham Palace, they had those guys that have like the red jackets, they had the black hats, and then like the guards. They're like, do not mess with us. And people like try to like make faces at them. They did like a little guard change where like one guy came, they're like, and they go and they like change, and the guards change. I was like, oh, we saw it. Like we just walked up on it and saw changing the guard. And this lady's like, that's not changing the guard. Changing the guard doesn't happen until 11 o'clock. And we're like, all right, it's like 10 o'clock. I was like, all right, whatever. So my dad and I were like, well, we're in London. Like, we should probably stay and watch it and see what it is. And so we go, and we're like kind of on the side. Dude, all of a sudden you hear this loud music, like a band, like a marching band. And then these horses and these like guys with all these like, you know, the red suits and the black hats, and they're like marching. There's a whole marching band with horses, guys. And then there's another group behind them with like the guns, and they're like legit guns. And they're like, marching. And it's like, oh, it's cool. And it's kind of like off in the distance. And then they march into Buckingham Palace. They do a couple of songs. You're going to think I'm lying. You're going to have to look on YouTube. They were doing like some traditional, like the Saints come marching in, the saints come marching in. Like they're playing that. I kid you not, they played a Lady Gaga song. Like they were like, what was like poker, my, poker face, poker. They literally playing Lady Gaga. My dad and I were like, that doesn't sound like an old like English song. And then they played they played like a Beatles song. They played a couple of modern like songs. There might have been like a Shawn Mendes song in there. We're like, who is this? This is at Buckingham Palace, the oldest like palace that's like still in use today. You have all this royal family, and this royal guard is out there playing Gaga and Kesha and whoever, Bruno Mars.
I don't know. Maybe King Charles just really likes Lady Gaga.
I don't know. Yeah, if he chooses the playlist, I mean, he definitely went for it. And so we were like, okay, and we couldn't really see him. So my dad and I decided to leave. So we're like walking away, and we go to this crosswalk, but we can't cross because the cops are like, no one can cross. We're like, all right. And then we hear the music getting louder and louder. And I'm like, what the heck is going on? And we're like, you can't really tell, but like we're right here on the crosswalk. My dad and I are, and there's a police officer like, hey, don't walk. And then he's like, kind of like in the middle, and then kind of farther on the other side. The band had left Buckingham and is marching out, and marched from me to this camera like 5 feet. I have it on camera too. Maybe I'll send a picture to Jackson. He can like edit it in there. And like they were literally right next to us, and they're like da 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 da. Like the guy with the little stick is like playing. The whole band's like da 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 da, and then all the guys with the guns are like da 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 da. And we like saw it, and I was like, that's crazy. My dad and I were like, dude, we just lucked out, man. We literally just showed up randomly, and we caught changing the guard. 10 out of 10 experience. It was really cool. And then all the statues and all the things that they built, wonderful. It was really cool. And then we went to several different cities, man. And this is one of the things that I learned was they said if a city looked old, it means it wasn't bombed during World War II. But if it looked newer, it means it was probably bombed during World War II, and they had to like rebuild. And I thought it was so interesting because I'm a big war buff. I don't know if anybody likes World War II. Remember that meme that went around that was like, ask a guy the last time he thought about the Roman Empire?
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. And so I had like 3 or 4 people ask me, I was like, I don't think about the Roman Empire. But if you were to ask me about when's the last time I thought about World War II?
That's a different
today.
subject.
That's a different subject. Like, the answer is today. And so the fact that like, you could see all the World War II stuff, they had Winston Churchill there. They had all this like historical like statues, memorials. That's the word I'm looking for. Memorials. They had a lot of really cool things. And then think about the cities. Like America was in World War II, and we study it a lot, and I enjoy studying it. But World War II, fighting wise, never took place in the U.S.
Besides, like Pearl Harbor.
Besides Pearl Harbor, that's true. Pearl Harbor on the Pacific side. Yeah, that's true. Shout out to my boys at Pearl Harbor. Hashtag never forget December 7th, a day in infamy. But like the mainland was, I guess, never really destroyed. And so to be in a country that was devastated by bombing, and they were never like physically invaded, by foot soldiers, but they were bombed just so much, and you could see the physical structures is different. Man, it puts goosebumps on you. So we went to several cities. We went to Yorkshire, which was super fun. It was great. We went to Stratford. Yorkshire is kind of like Savannah. It's supposed to be like haunted and kind of spooky. And so they sold like all these little ghost memorabilia. And dude, you know what's crazy about like Savannah? It's kind of I 100% believe this is right here. Listen to me right here. If you hear this, folks, Ben Mayfield believes in ghosts, spirits, people that have not crossed the plane. It's real. And I think there are places that are heightened. Savannah, definitely heightened. So spooky. It's true, Jackson. You go down there.
I mean, strange things do happen sometimes.
Thank you. That's all I'm saying. Strange things. Hey, some people say stranger things happens. Call me up. Yorkshire is like Savannah, not with the heat, but just like kind of how old it is and haunted. But that place has been there a lot longer, And so it's got to be way more people have died there and like hauntedness because that place is like hundreds of years older than Savannah, hundreds of years older. So that place was just kind of spooky. It was kind of fun. It was like a fun spooky. It wasn't like I thought it was like dead people everywhere or anything like that. And then we went to Stratford. Stratford was kind of modern. It had like a lot of parks. Trivia question: who famous was born in Stratford, England? Going once, going twice. If you yelled it out loud.
Let me guess.
Oh, you want to guess?
Churchill?
No, it wasn't Churchill.
Dang it.
It was Shakespeare. William Shakespeare is from Stratford. Spent like his like younger years there, but then mostly went to London. But Shakespeare was there. His house was there. Kind of a cool town, but it wasn't like super like whoa. Went to Windsor. Windsor was great because there's a giant castle there, and in that castle is where Elizabeth II, Queen Elizabeth, long live the Queen, or R.I.P. the Queen Elizabeth II. She lived there. She loved Windsor, and dude, there was some top-notch security there. I think some royal family still lives in Windsor. I mean, it was like good luck trying to break into that place. It had like police officers. It had like the things were like when you're driving on a road, and then there's like metal poles like come out of the ground for like security. Dude, could not get past these people. They were protecting the Queen and the crown jewels. They were doing everything. Well, the crown jewels are in the Tower of London, but they were protecting all the stuff. But Windsor was great, and it had a great city attached to it, and that's what I really liked about that. It was the city was just really, really nice, and I liked it a lot. And then Bath was cool because it had a lot of like the Roman Empire. You know, for those who don't know the historical part, but Rome took over England, but didn't hold it, super long compared to other places. And so when they had it, a lot of the Roman Empire stuff has been destroyed and taken down. So there's no more remnants of the Roman Empire, or very little. There's a tower here or a building there. Well, Bath still has some Roman structures. And that was the place where when people lived in London and they wanted to go, like, literally clean themselves up because the water in London wasn't clean or it was too polluted, they would they would ride their horse and buggy over to Bath, great name, and they would literally bathe, and that's how it got its name. And it was cool because they still had these giant, like, Roman, like, not hot tubs, like, I guess bathrooms or saunas, things like that. Kind of creepy.
Maybe all three.
All three, yeah. It literally had all three. It had this giant church there that was beautiful and wonderful. So it had a lot of really good stuff in there. The best part about Bath was this artist. They had it was a Saturday when we were there, and so they had the regular shopping. It was like the outlet malls, dude. They had all these stores, they were just high end stores. But in the middle of these streets, they had these vendors, and I'm like, I don't need souvenirs. I do like magnets. I got a couple stuffed animals for Davis. AK for myself too, because they're cute, right? Having a great time. But then I ran across this guy, and this guy had the coolest art. And I'm going to send a picture of it to Jackson so he can throw it up there. But here, the first one that we're going to throw up was he drew a picture of a gaming where he had this giant thing, looks like a video game screen, and then it had all these characters in it. So we'll put that up there. Boom. You look at that. Take it down. The second picture he had was the same idea with all these little Easter eggs, but it was of movies. And so he had all these little movie characters. Man, it was detailed. It was awesome. It was beautiful. I'm ordering frames for him so we can put them up here in the studio. They were awesome. And his name is Jeff something. I don't have to look it up. But we'll have to give him a shout out because he's going to do a TV show one with all these different Easter eggs for TV shows. And I've already seen some pictures of it. He has The Simpsons, A-Team, Stranger Things, all these different iconic TV shows. And it's little characters here and there. And I commented on it. It's hey, you should include. Guess what I told him they should include?
What did you tell him?
Power Rangers, dude. You got to include a Power Ranger. So he was dude, got it. Added it to the list. So I don't know. It was awesome. There's a lot of movie characters, but if there's an iconic movie character, it's in there. Iconic video game character, it's in it. Iconic TV show, I'm excited to look at it. It's definitely in there. He also did a Greek god one and a Norse god one. So cool. So I ended up buying a bunch of stuff from that guy. I know I kind of went on a tangent, but this art guy was so good. It was so cool. So that was Bath. And then we go, that's where all the kind of big places we went to in England. But then the coolest country that I went to. You ready for this? Scotland. Welcome to Scotland. Scotland was awesome.
Plays the bagpipes as you say that.
Dude, play the bagpipes, eat some haggis, wear a kilt. Dude, go William Wallace. I wish I painted about half my face blue right now and just had like William Wallace and had like a sword in here, dude. It was awesome. They were fighters, the Highlands, the Lowlands. They were fantastic. We went to Glasgow. We went to Edinburgh, which is the capital, Edinburgh. And it is so cool. There's a giant castle. I mean, huge castle. And it was like a military base, too. And then, this is also crazy. All my Harry Potter fans out there, if you don't know this, J.K. Rowling is from Scotland. And if she's from England, she's close to Scotland. And when she wrote Harry Potter books, a lot of times where she wrote was in a cafe in Edinburgh. So when you see like oh my god, I can't pronounce it. Diagonal.
Diagon Alley.
Diagon, thank you. Diagon Alley. I know I'm gonna get butchered on that on the podcast.
I don't even watch Harry Potter. I know that.
I can't pronounce everything correctly, but that Gringotts, like all the different places that were like, what's the other little town? Hogsmeade. All those places are inspired in Edinburgh. Like all the different streets and like city, like it looks a lot like it, and that's where Hogwarts is. Hogwarts is in the Highlands of Scotland, which is so cool. Because, everybody talking about it's in, London, England. It's like, nah, bro, it's in Scotland. Scotland's so cool. Man, I loved it. Geographically, it was really beautiful. The people were nice. It felt safe. It felt home. In fact, in Georgia, we have a lot of Scottish heritage here because the Highland Scots came to Georgia and to settle. So that's why we have a lot of that. It was really cool, man. And then we took a ferry. This is crazy. We took a ferry that our tour bus and about 10 other tour buses and a bunch of freight trucks, a bunch of regular pedestrian cars, all drove up on and parked into it. And then they had like 3 decks where like you could like go shopping and do stuff. But a ferry that could hold 10 charter buses plus like 18-wheelers plus like all these personal vehicles. Dude, this ferry was huge. Carried us across to Northern Ireland. Bro, I didn't know Northern Ireland and Ireland were 2 separate countries. If you did, be honest with yourself. Did you know that, fans? Did you know that? Because I didn't know that. And Northern Ireland is part of the UK. Regular Ireland, not part of the UK. And so that was kind of interesting. There's no right now there's no border like when you cross Northern Ireland to Ireland, you don't to a border. It's kind of open border. But with Ireland, we went to the Titanic Museum, which was sick. It was awesome. Spoiler alert, it sinks. I know. Titanic sinks.
No way.
That was kind of. It's the most anticlimactic historical museum. Like, I mean, I know, like we go to a war museum, like the war win, like, okay, we win the war, cool. But, like, you hear all these stories and how the war and how all these things happen. Well, Titanic is like, the boat sinks.
The boat sank. It was a tragedy.
It was a tragedy. I mean, huge tragedy.
They made a movie about it. Made Leo famous. Fantastic. James Cameron, great job. But come on. Like, the boat crashed because it hit a giant iceberg. Like, was it not supposed to crash?
No, it wasn't supposed to. And did you know the Titanic had 2
sister ships that were made with it. Like one was called like the Olympian, and one was called something else. They never crashed. They were great. So it wasn't the Titanic was manufactured incorrectly. Yes, they didn't have enough lifeboats. Yes, they were warned. They were going like, "Hey, there's an iceberg. Hey, there's an iceberg," and they were like, "Nah, I don't know. We might be able to avoid it.
We can tank an iceberg. We'll be fine."
Yeah, we'll be fine. Like we'll miss it.
It was not fine.
And they were too far north. They were supposed to be a little further south, but they wanted to go like a little longer. It's things like that that's like, okay, it could have been avoidable, but it's still like a car wreck. It's a tragedy, but it's not like, I don't know, like we had a whole museum on it. But a lot of people died. It was crazy. And it was built in Belfast, Ireland. That's why the Titanic Museum's there. I didn't know that. I did not know that it was built in Ireland. I just assumed Titanic was built in New York. I don't know. Did you know it was built in Ireland?
No.
Okay, good. I hope I'm not the only person that didn't know that. It's built in Ireland. And it actually went to a couple places in Europe and then went over across to the main voyage, the Red Star Line. It was crazy. So it was kind of cool, but not a whole lot about Belfast. We weren't there very long. And then we went to Dublin, the biggest city in the world, because it's always Dublin. Get it? Always Dublin? Okay.
No,
Anyways, largest city in the world. Dublin was fine. It was cool. We got to see some Irish folk dancers and singers and little tap dancing, river dancing. Super nice people. I bought a hat. I should have worn it. My dad and I both bought like the little hat that you see a lot of times. The Peaky Blinders wear it. I don't know what the actual name of the hat's called. There's some like name for it, but it was pretty cool. My dad and I both bought one. We wear it. It was pretty sick. It's a little too hot right now though, so that's why we're not wearing it right now. Hat was cool. Ireland was cool. All the things we saw, the Irish music, really beautiful culture, really green. We learned a lot about St. Patrick. Shout out to my boy St. Patty, great guy. No snakes apparently on the island because of St. Patrick. So if you could run all the snakes out, that's pretty awesome. So with that, we also went back on another ferry, came across over to my second favorite, and it's close to being my favorite. Hear me say this. Close to being my favorite. And that is the country of Wales. Not a lot of people know about Wales. It's only got about 3 million people in it. And in it, only does it have 3 million people in it, it has 8 million sheep. 8 million sheep.
Is that a real statistic?
That's a real statistic. It's actually 8.5 million. It's close to 9 million sheep. Because the whole thing is there's almost 3-to-1 ratio of sheep to people in Wales, which is ridiculous. Are you about to fact check me?
I'm planning on it. Hold on.
Okay, you can fact check me if you want to. It's almost a 3-to-1 ratio to sheep to people. And it's crazy. Beautiful hills, beautiful countryside. And they're also, their flag, they're like their country's flag, has a red dragon on it. People, listen to me. It's got a red dragon. That's awesome. Are you looking it up right now?
Yeah, it says 8.7 million sheeps and lambs.
Fact check me, son. What's up? What's up? I know my stuff, dude. I've been to Wales. You haven't been there, you wouldn't know. But I've been to Wales. So, in Wales, they have this red dragon. It's on their flag. It's everywhere. Super awesome. And if you know me, I've been doing, like in my youth ministry, in my camp counselor days, I would always come up with groups, like, all right, this group versus this group. But just saying, like, Team A, Team B, I'd be like, the Red Dragons versus, the Blue Barracudas or the Orange Iguanas, the Silver Monkeys, very much like Hidden Temple. But I always say Red Dragons, and that's true too. Jackson can back me up on that.
Yeah, he's done it for years.
Yeah, I've done it for years, and so the fact that I've always had the Red Dragons, and usually it's the team that I play on, and then I'm in a country that like celebrates red dragons. I just felt at peace with the world. It was awesome, man. The Welsh people were so cool. The Welsh, Irish people, I want to say Scottish, but definitely, I definitely know Irish and Wales. I'm not sure about Scotland, but Welsh has their own language, a Welsh language. It's not spoken by a lot of people, but it's spoken about maybe like 20% of the population. And then Irish people also have their own that they learned in school, and maybe Gaelic or something. And it's incredibly awesome to hear these Irish people speaking their language and the Welsh people speaking it. And you're just like, what in the world? And this guy was like teaching us stuff, and he was doing colors. And he was like, all right, you name a color, you name a color. And he's like, oh, what about you, man? He pointed at me. I was like, purple. And then he was like, he looked at me like, dude, what am I doing? Of all the colors, you chose purple? Like, why would you choose purple? So, with that, because apparently it's like really hard to pronounce. I don't know. I'm not Welsh. And so he ended up going like, all right, I'll do pink instead or something like that. It was pretty fun. And so in Wales, we went to, I'm trying to think of we went to Kilkenny, which was in Ireland, and that had a really big castle. You should look up Kilkenny Castle. It's pretty big. I'm trying to think of the cities we went to. There was a couple. I'm trying to remember. I can't remember the one in Wales that we went to, but it was fun. It was pretty cool. Had a good time, and we ended up coming back to London. We started in London, went all the way around the UK and Ireland, came back to London. The official trip was over, and then we had 2 extra days. And one of those days, I got to choose what to do. The other day, my dad got to choose what to do. And on my day, I chose to go to Harry Potter World, the most magical place on earth. It was, sorry, Disney. Here's the thing. There's like the Universal Studios in Florida has like the attractions of Harry Potter and the rides, and it looks cool. 100% supportive of that. Fantastic. But when you're in England and you're in this studio, and it's an active studio, so there's all these giant warehouses. I mean, giant. Like, think of a giant warehouse and then like 3 times that size. And there's these different ones. All like the eyes can see. There's different ones, and they're different lots. And then they have like 4 or 5 of them that they've dedicated to be a museum of all the Harry Potter stuff. And the other ones are still active with Warner Brothers or Disney or whoever. In fact, this is the craziest part. They wouldn't tell us which one, but there, as like you could see within a football distance, these studios, a football field distance, there was Avengers Doomsday was getting filmed. Like all these like actors from Marvel movies were there. And I swear to you, Jackson, I was like, if a Disney movie star, like if Chris Hemsworth comes walking out with like a hammer and was like, hey, what's up, guys? Mate, hello, mate, Chris Hemsworth. I'd be like, yes, that's awesome. I'm watching Thor. Like, it was so cool to imagine. Like Avengers Doomsday, I can't see it, but I know it's getting filmed over there. So that was pretty cool. But these 4, 5, 6 studios were designed to be a museum. And so when you walk in, before you even get into the studio, they have these giant statues of these wands, like Harry Potter's wand, Voldemort's wand, Dumbledore's wand, Hermione's wand. I mean, like statues that you can put like your arm around. I mean, these huge wand statues, and they come like cross like this. So you're like walking through this like wall, and then they had the giant wizard's chess pieces. Pretty sick, I made my move. Shout out to my girl Sydney. She loves wizard's chess, and we're going in, and we're like, this is crazy. We go in, huge. I mean, you see all these things, and like, oh my god, it's not even the tour yet, but we see all these things, and then you start the tour, and you're going on the tour. You see the actual, like, I walked in, they do like this little video introduction, they have this really cool thing, shows you all these actors, and they talk about it, and it's really great, kind of sentimental, the magic, and then you walk in to the Great Hall, like where they had the meals with the first movie and the second movie and the third. I don't know if it was in all of them, but it was in like 3 or 4 of them. And it's the Great Hall. I guess it was in all of them, and where they all ate their meals. I walked down that hall and like sat down where they were eating their meals, where Harry got the hat placed on him and was like, Gryffindor. Like, I stood there, like on the actual set. Like, I was like, this is crazy right now. This is wild. They had these cool statues of all the different houses, like a lion and a eagle and a snake and a badger, all the different house crests. They were huge too. It was awesome. I was like, this is crazy. And then you walk out of there, and it had all these different set pieces from different movies, different costumes that was worn in the movies. Different. They had the Pivot Drive house. And they had that as one of the places. You had the classrooms. They had the legit full set classrooms, like with like in Chamber of Secrets with Professor Lockroy, Gilbert Lockroy, that the guy that thinks he's like really good looking.
I don't know. I don't watch Harry Potter.
That's okay. Anyways, I think it's the second one. Yeah. Anyways, that where he walks down and then like he like smiles at himself in his portrait and then like comes down. They had the whole classroom. They had the whole set, and they had the portrait that he looks at. It was so cool. Oh my god, it was awesome. And so we go there, and then they have different like costumes, prosthetics. We actually got to walk down Gringotts Bank with all the goblins. They had all the goblins, like people that were like sitting there doing the goblins. Like we walked down there and got to experience that. And it was like cool. And they've used it for all the movies. So like in Harry Potter World at Universal Studios in Florida, you go to Gringotts and it's like replica. You go ride the ride and it's fun. I suggest it. But to be on the actual set was just like a whole new level of like feeling like I'm in the experience. I'm in the place where they filmed all these things. And then they had like a picture of each person, like actor who portrayed that goblin in like each spot. So you could like read their little bio, which is kind of a cool Easter egg. Like if you were, you know, like, hey, I was Goblin number 4, and like you came to the tour, you could like prove like, hey, there's my name, there's my stuff. Yeah, it was awesome though. And then they had Buckbeat. They had an actual Buckbeat, not actual hippogriff, but like the machine that played him. Spoiler alert! And with the CGI, it was cool. It was awesome. And then you got Butterbeer, which was delicious. Very overpriced, but it was delicious. And then I'm trying to think. I bought a couple wands. Obviously, that's what I do when you go to Harry Potter World. You buy some wands. I'm not super into the house stuff. I appreciate the house, but this is my struggle. And I know everybody who's listening right now is like Gryffindor, Slytherin, Ravenclaw, Hufflepuff. And they're like, if you're smart, you're Ravenclaw. If you're quirky, you're Hufflepuff. If you're kind of like a mischievous person, you're a Slytherin. If you're noble, you're a Gryffindor. And it's like, I don't know. I took the Pottermore test. I've asked people. I get Hufflepuff. I've gotten Ravenclaw. I've gotten Gryffindor. I've gotten Slytherin. And so I'm just like, dude, if I'm in all these houses, then I don't want to buy a bunch of Hufflepuff stuff. And then one day, like, actually, you're a Gryffindor. I was like, man, what the hell is Hufflepuff stuff? So, like, I don't try to buy the house stuff. I'll just buy, like, Hogwarts stuff, or I'll buy, like, you know, the wands, you know, because that's kind of cool. But I don't ever want to, like, deck my stuff out with, like, Gryffindor or just one thing. You know? That makes sense? So we did that, and that was kind of fun. Got some souvenirs, got some things for my brother, and, you know, Emily. Shout out to Emily, who I work with. She's a huge Potterhead, so I made sure I got her some stuff. And then my dad's, that was it. That was great. Came back, had a good dinner. My dad, for his free day, and this is actually pretty cool, he chose to go to Mayfield Village, the town that my name comes from. And that's kind of crazy. Like, everybody, like, your surname, which that's what they call their last name in England, the surname. Your surname or your last name it's pretty important for a guy. I don't know girls. I know that sometimes when they get married, they change their last name. Sometimes their last name becomes their middle name, or they just drop it all together. I'm not really sure, but like for my feelings, my last name is important to me. Mayfield connects me to my mom. It connects me to my dad. It connects me to my brother. It'll connect me to Davis. Like it's just my name. My grandparents is maybe not the grandparents on my mom's side, but at least my dad's side. Mayfield is just like a big name, you know, and I like it a lot. And so to go to the place where it originated is incredible. How many of us can pinpoint where the name kind of came from, what area? Because you may say like, oh, this name is like Germanic, you know, like oh, this is a Scottish name or English name, or oh, this is whatever. But to be able to like not only know the origin of the name, but then to go like a little grid point and like this is where this name originated was, you know, there was like Mayfed or Mayfeld, like Mayfeld, and then there was like and then it became a field where like the people would gather, like field gathering people, I think it's something like that. And this is that village. And then Mayfield also sent some people to, I think it was World War II or World War One, and so it had a couple of like like statues of that, like a war memorial. And then it had this Saint Dunstan, I think it's what it was called, church, right there in Mayfield Village, and the church was gorgeous. Oh my gosh, it was like a cathedral, and the church was amazing. Had all these tombstones, and I don't know if anybody else does this. This is kind of weird, I know. They had like a graveyard, but it was a graveyard they've had for hundreds of years. Like there was tombstones there that are older than America is, right? Like it's older than actual America, and so these tombstones are not there, and so they built it. You're going through it, and it's great, and it's awesome. It's historic. We did that. My dad and I tried to find the oldest grave possible. We did find some William Mayfields. Didn't find any Ben Mayfields or Bobby Mayfields. So shout out to my brother. And then we went to a place called the Middle House. And Mayfield Village is mostly just like a street. It's very tiny. It's a very tiny village. Smaller than Dahlonega, way smaller than Dahlonega. It was like half a square of Dahlonega. And so, but there was a place called the Middle House, and it was right in the middle of this like street on the side of this cliff. And it had a pub, which was really cool. It was Middle House in Mayfield. We went in there, and we had only about 30 minutes left because we had to ride the bus. We had to ride the train to a certain place and the bus to get to here. And so we got there, and we enjoyed it. We soaked it in. We had ourselves a pint. It was fun. It was really cool. And so we got to visit Mayfield Village, the origin of the name. And we came back that day on the bus and the train, explored a little bit of downtown London, you know, just kind of hanging out. And then we flew back. The flight was great. It was about 9 hours. Watched like 5 movies I've been wanting to see. One of which, I only mentioned that because one of which was a World War II movie that had, oh my gosh, it was like, had Henry Cavill in it, the guy who played Superman, and the guy that played Jack Reacher. It was like Unordinary, not League of Ordinary Extraordinary Gentlemen, that's a different movie. It's Sean Connery. It was something with Henry Cavill and the guy Alan Rickard who plays like Jack Reacher. Dude, it was so good. And it's a World War II movie about these like special forces. In fact, one of the characters is based on a true story. It's a little fictionalized as far as like how crazy it got, but it was based on a true story. And the guy who led the mission, or like kind of like, he didn't lead the mission, but the guy that like wrote the mission, like go do this, was Winston Churchill, a big general, and then like this assistant to the general, and the assistant to the general was a guy named Ian Fleming. Little trivia fact: who's Ian Fleming? You're right. It is the guy who wrote James Bond, the author who wrote James Bond. And the guy who led the mission is who Ian Fleming based James Bond off of. So here's the special forces secret agent guy that they did during World War II, and he like was so inspired by how good this guy was at getting missions accomplished. He was like, I'm going to write this book about James Bond, and it was based off this guy that Henry Cavill plays, and that's just so cool. It was I know I'm blanking on all the different names, but it was awesome. It was really, really cool. And so to see that movie on the way back to America was like kind of like nice. Like that was cool. And so I say all that because it was a once in a lifetime opportunity for me really to go explore the UK, explore those countries, but not just to go back to those. I could do that in the future, but to go with my dad, who is getting older, getting close to retirement, and just like spending that quality time with him. You don't get to do that very often. And it was just really, really sweet to go see that and experience that and do that with my dad. I love my dad a lot. And so I encourage you, if it's your dad, if it's your mom, if it's a grandparent, whoever, be intentional. Go hang out with them. Go spend time with your loved one. You're not guaranteed time on this world, so go do it. Go hang out with them. It will not be something that you regret. It'll be something that like you really hold dear and near to your heart. So I had a great time. Jackson, was there any stories that I left out that you can think of?
No, not really.
Not even ones that I told you. I'm trying to think. I think that's pretty much it. I did take my mini little Jesus guy and took pictures of him everywhere, and that actually started a lot of really cool conversations. I remember doing that. Got a bunch of magnets. It was just a great trip. So I encourage everybody to do it. Did you want to do a little Ben 10 at the end?
I have two questions.
Two questions. All right, what's up?
All right. Question number 1. What is your favorite fruit?
My favorite fruit? Oh my gosh.
Out of all of them, if you could choose just one, which one?
There's a lot of really good fruits out there. I'm trying to think. One of them that everybody loves, like bananas or strawberries, and they're all fine. But the one that I love to eat a lot is green grapes. I don't know if grapes is a fruit. Is that a fruit?
That's a fruit. Yes.
That's a fruit. Okay, yeah. I love green grapes. I probably would eat those. Blueberries are also pretty good. I like the berries, things to eat. Those are probably my favorite fruits. I should eat more fruit though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Don't agree with that like that. Okay, that's what he does.
Hey, I probably need to do some.
That's what he does
too. All right, we all need to.
Yeah, we all need to eat fruit. You're right.
Yeah.
Fruit salad, not a real salad. All right.
Not?
No.
Okay.
That's bad marketing.
What would you consider a salad then?
It has to have, I don't know, vegetables in it.
That is true. Like just a lettuce base, but anything else is fair game.
Well, I mean, like, if you have something that outweighs the lettuce base, like then it becomes something else. Like if you put a burrito bowl and there's rice, beans, chicken, and a little bit of lettuce, it doesn't become a salad.
That's not a salad. That's a burrito bowl.
But when lettuce and like the adjacent to lettuce cousins is the majority and other things are on top of it, that's when it becomes a salad.
So if I took a bowl of lettuce, but I decided to add some grapes and strawberries and stuff, would that be considered a fruit salad?
That's just weird. Why would you put grapes and strawberries on lettuce?
I don't know. I want to experiment maybe one day.
Oh, gosh, Jackson. I'm telling you, man. All right, what's your second question?
All right, my second question. What is a piece of media, like book, song, movie, video game, that you think has influenced you the most?
Oh, gosh. What book or media? I would say, those are all vastly different in different ways. I would say a piece of media that has influenced me probably the most would be either, comic books have, but that's like kind of broad. I don't know if people read comic books as much as I do. But I would say Star Wars, like the Star Wars movies. In particular, I remember going to the prequels because I'm not old enough to go to the original movies. But I remember going to Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, Revenge of the Sith, and then 7, 8, 9 don't exist to me. But those three, and then go and watch the originals. A lot of my childhood memories, like my buddies, like shout out to Will Helms, Jordan Cornette, Trey McMillan, Thomas Holm, Caleb Grizzle, Aaron McKeithen, all those guys, we bonded over Star Wars. You know, we watched them a lot. We played them. You know, the video games, Lego Star Wars. In eighth grade. We made a Star Wars video, and it was like Darth Pooh was the bad guy. I know we're in middle school, and we made this whole video. And Thomas Holm recorded it, and I was the director. I wrote a whole script. I brought the lightsabers. I brought the costumes. I was like, I want to do this production. The only thing I didn't have was the camera, and Thomas brought the camera with the tape, and like put it in. And we recorded it, and then he was like, "Yeah, I'll get you the tape." Never got us the tape. Eventually, I think he lost it, and he lost the tape, and that video is just lost to the world. But that was a pretty cool. It brought me a friendship. It brought me a lot of friendships, and I like how the universe just is always expanding. It's pretty cool. It's kind of like when Jesse and Jake talked about Lord of the Rings for them, and how like expansive that universe is for them. It's the same. I enjoy the Lord of the Rings, but Star Wars was that for me. I love the Force and the Jedi. You know, I'm pretty much a Jedi in today's world. But yeah. Anyways, is that it?
Yeah, that wasn't 10 questions, but, you know, it was 2.
It was close enough. I want to say just a couple of things just real quick. If you haven't already, subscribe to our YouTube page. I love it a lot. Y'all have been tremendous. We've been getting a lot of followers, a lot of traction. We're going to be doing some more episodes pretty soon with some interviews with people. I appreciate y'all listening to this Across the Pond episode. I just love my dad and got to spend time with him. So go spend time with your family and your loved ones. And until next time, peace.